I got into my husband's car and saw a small tube of personal lubricant in the glove box. I didn't say a word. I just quietly replaced it with industrial super glue. And what happened after that made our neighbors call the fire department in a panic. I'm so glad you're here. If you're watching this, please like and subscribe to my channel. Also, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I want to know how far my revenge story has traveled. That morning, I sat at the kitchen table. The silence in the house so thick it almost had a sound of its own. It wasn't new that silence had been living with us for months, like an unwanted guest that refused to leave. The old clock on the wall, a wedding gift from my late mother, kept ticking loudly, each sound like a reminder of the lie my life had become. My husband, Ethan, had just come back from another one of his endless business dinners. But this time, he didn't just look tired, he looked haunted, like he was carrying something heavy, something dark. His face showed it, those tired eyes, the new lines around his mouth, all telling stories he wouldn't say out loud. He threw his jacket carelessly on the sofa, loosened his tie like it was choking him, and fell onto the bed without even showering. The smell of his cologne filled the room, but mixed with it was another scent, sweet, floral, and unfamiliar. It hit me immediately. Perfume. Someone else's. A few minutes later, his snoring started, soft and steady. That sound used to comfort me. Now, it just sounded like a lullaby for a fool. I got up quietly, the way a woman who's been married for 40 years learns to move, slow, calm, practiced. I started cleaning up the living room, his jacket, his wallet, his phone, his old laptop. His phone screen was still on. A new email notification glowed on it, and that alone made me pause. Ethan never used email. He always said, "Lily, all that tech stuff is too complicated. I'd rather just call." So seeing that email, it was strange, wrong, but it was right there, open, daring me to look. And I did. The message was short, just a few words that shattered everything. "You were incredible tonight, Dad." I froze. My mind went blank. Dad? Who was calling him that? And with a heart emoji? The words echoed in my head, bouncing around like cruel whispers. I scrolled down, trying to find more, another clue, but there was nothing else. Just a weird email address, some random letters and numbers that told me nothing. A cold chill ran through me. It wasn't the kind of cold from weather, it was the kind that starts inside your chest and spreads everywhere. It felt like a door had just opened in my life, showing a dark room I never knew existed. I looked toward the bedroom and saw Ethan rolling over, snoring peacefully, completely unaware. That calm face made me angry. My heart pounded fast, like I'd been caught stealing something that was mine. I quickly placed his phone back where it was, my hands shaking so bad I almost dropped it. Then I kept cleaning, but this time my movements were stiff, robotic, like I wasn't even there. When I picked up his pants to take them to the laundry, I felt a folded piece of paper in the pocket. It was a new receipt from an expensive steakhouse in San Antonio, dated that same night. My eyebrows pulled together. San Antonio? He had told me he was in Dallas with his business partners. I let out a small, bitter laugh. Ethan hated driving to Dallas. But San Antonio? That was different. His late mother had lived there. He always said it reminded him of his childhood. So who was he having dinner with there while lying to me about being in Dallas? The receipt showed two people. A fancy bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, the same wine he once bought for our 10th anniversary, and two main courses, filet and pasta. I stood there, holding that paper, and tried to remember the last time Ethan took me to a nice place like that. Maybe 10 years ago, when I opened my first bakery. That was one of the few good memories I still had of us. The candlelight flickered softly that night. I can still see Ethan's proud smile, the way he raised his glass to toast my success. Now that memory feels fake, just a faded picture in a scrapbook of lies. I took out my phone, quietly and with determination, and snapped photos of both the restaurant receipt and the email I had seen. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. But a woman's instinct, especially after 40 years of marriage, is never wrong. Something was happening, and deep down I knew it. My hands were shaking, not just from anger, but from fear, the kind that makes your stomach drop. It felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to watch my whole life fall apart. I went to the garage. Ethan's old SUV was still warm. The air smelled like gasoline. and that same sweet perfume from his clothes. My heart tightened as I opened the door. I turned on my phone's flashlight and searched every corner of the driver's seat. Nothing, just loose change and an empty water bottle. Then, as I opened the glove box, my fingers brushed against something smooth and slippery. I pulled it out and froze. It was a tube of used personal lubricant. The cap had dried residue on it. That tiny tube suddenly felt heavier than a stone. Ethan and I hadn't been intimate in years. He always said he was tired, that age had killed his desire. So what was this for? The question echoed in my head like a hammer, breaking the pieces of my trust one by one. I stood there, frozen, but I knew I had to stay calm. My survival instinct kicked in. I put it back exactly where I found it, wiped my hands with a napkin, scrubbing hard, like I could wash the betrayal off my skin. Then I searched again, more carefully this time. Under the back seat, I found crumpled napkins soaked in that same floral perfume, not a man's scent, and definitely not mine. The smell was strong, bold, almost defiant, as if mocking me. It screamed infidelity, right in my face. I took photos of everything: the lubricant, the napkins, as if taking pictures could trap the scent of betrayal. Then I closed the car and went back inside, feeling like the evidence was crushing me. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands trembling as I picked up Ethan's phone again. By now, I was almost sure he was cheating. I went through his messages. Nothing but work chats, short and dull, like a desert. His inbox was empty except for that one strange email. I checked sent and draft folders too. Nothing. Everything was too clean, too perfect, like he had deleted every single trace of his secret life. A master of lies, I whispered bitterly. My anger had turned cold, solid, heavy, but underneath it, something else was growing. A hunger for truth. I needed to uncover the lie, no matter the cost. The next morning, I was already awake before sunrise. The image of that lubricant, that receipt, that email, they kept spinning in my head like a poisonous carousel. I stood in the kitchen, moving automatically as I cooked breakfast: 2 fried eggs, some toast, and black coffee, just the way Ethan liked it. I hadn't slept at all. Ethan came down looking tired, his hair messy, his eyes still sleepy. He sat down, took a sip of his coffee, then said in his usual calm voice, "I have an important meeting today. I'll probably be home late." He didn't even look me in the eye. It was the same line he'd said countless times before: smooth, practiced, and empty. He was good at this. Too good. The lies rolled off his tongue so easily it made my blood run cold. I forced a small smile, though inside, I wanted to scream. Where's the meeting? With who? In San Antonio again? But I stayed quiet. My anger burned silently inside. "All right," I said softly. "Be careful." He patted my shoulder, a meaningless touch, and walked out. The door shut, leaving the kitchen silent again. And that silence only made my suspicions louder. I cleaned the table, washed the dishes one by one, the rhythm helping me hold myself together. But I couldn't keep guessing. I needed proof. I picked up my phone and searched for Mrs. Miller's number, an old friend who once helped me when I opened my bakery. She'd mentioned a private investigator once. "Lily, if you ever need to find out the truth, call Thompson. He's discreet and reliable," she'd said. I never thought I would actually call him, but now I had no other choice. I dialed her number. My voice trembled. Each ring made my heart beat faster. "Hello, Mrs. Miller. Can you help me get in touch with Thompson? I need him." There was a pause before she answered. "Lily, what's going on? Did Ethan do something?" I sighed. My pride stung too much to explain everything. "I just need to know the truth," I said quietly. "Can you help me?" Mrs. Miller didn't ask any more questions. She understood. An hour later, I got a text from Thompson. "Mrs. Roberts, please don't worry. I'll help you." Just those few words gave me a small sense of relief, a tiny lifeline in a sea of betrayal. At noon, I met him at a small cafe downtown, a quiet place that smelled of coffee and baked bread. Usually that smell made me feel at home, but not today. I picked a corner seat where no one would notice me. Then Thompson arrived, a short, stocky man in a light blue shirt, calm eyes that seemed to read everything. I handed him a flash drive with all the photos I'd taken, the email, the restaurant receipt, the lubricant, and the napkins. "This is all I have," I said, my voice shaking. I think my husband is cheating on me." The words tasted bitter in my mouth. Thompson nodded and started reviewing the photos on his phone, his face serious and professional. He took some notes in a small notebook. "Mrs. Roberts," he said gently, "I understand. I'll start following your husband this afternoon. Don't worry. I'll keep you updated." Tears filled my eyes, but I held them back. "Thank you," I whispered. "I just want to know the truth, whatever it is." He gave a small, understanding smile. "I'll do my best. Just go home and don't make him suspicious." I left the cafe and walked through the busy street, but inside I felt completely alone. 40 years of marriage, a lifetime of trust now crumbling beneath my feet. Ethan had always been my rock, my anchor. And now, I was hiring a stranger to spy on him. The irony cut deep. That night, I sat in my bakery surrounded by the smell of flour and yeast, my safe place. I was checking delivery invoices when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Thompson. My heart pounded as I opened it. A photo appeared on the screen. Ethan, wearing his light blue shirt, walking into a fancy restaurant. He was holding hands with a woman. I zoomed in, and my whole world stopped. It was Olivia, my daughter-in-law. She wore a tight black dress, heavy makeup, bright red lipstick. Her hair fell down her shoulders. They didn't look like in-laws, they looked like lovers. I froze, staring at the screen, my hands trembling. Olivia? How was that possible? At family gatherings, they always acted distant, polite. I'd never suspected a thing. But now, I saw the truth. It had all been an act. Thompson sent more pictures. In one, they sat in a corner table decorated with candles and flowers. Olivia leaned toward him, smiling. Ethan was toasting her with a look I hadn't seen in decades, soft, tender, full of admiration. My chest ached painfully. In 40 years, he had never looked at me like that, not even when we were young and in love. That look was mine once. Now it belonged to her. Later that night, a video came in from Thompson. The clock read 2 a.m. I plugged in my earphones and hit play, my hands trembling. In the video, Olivia leaned close to Ethan's ear, whispering something that made him laugh, a laugh I didn't recognize. Her voice was soft, her eyes sparkled under the restaurant lights. Then they left together. Ethan opened the car door for her like a gentleman, or rather, like her lover. I replayed the video over and over, torturing myself each time. Olivia, my daughter-in-law. The girl I treated like my own child. The one I taught to make our family's flan recipe. And Ethan, the man I'd given my entire life to. How could they do this to me? To our family? To David? The questions flooded my mind, each one heavier than the last. I saved all the photos and the video on a flash drive. I noted every detail: date, time, restaurant name. My body moved like a machine, but my mind was chaos. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. Ethan and Olivia. The thought alone made me sick. How could they fall so low? The proof was right there in front of me, undeniable, heavy like a mountain. I stood in the bakery, surrounded by trays of warm pastries that smelled sweet and comforting. But inside, I felt like my whole world was collapsing. My mind went back to the early days of our bakery, when Ethan used to help me carry sacks of flour. We would laugh together in that tiny kitchen, dreaming big, dreaming of success, of happiness, of forever. Now those memories felt so far away, like a beautiful story I had told myself for too long, one that was never real. The next morning, I was back in the small bakery kitchen, holding a list of orders for a big hotel downtown. Usually, the smell of flour and vanilla made me feel calm and happy, but that day, it felt empty, like the comfort had lost its meaning. Just as I finished signing the delivery invoice, my phone vibrated in my apron pocket. I wiped my hands and pulled it out. My heart dropped when I saw the message. It was from the detective. Just one short line. "Mrs. Roberts, I'm sending you more evidence." I took a deep breath, trying to keep myself together, but my hands were shaking as I opened the message. Then a series of photos appeared on the screen. The first photo showed Ethan wearing his usual gray shirt, walking out of a law office near the main plaza. And right beside him was Olivia, dressed in a beige office gown, her hair tied up in a high ponytail, and big dark sunglasses almost covering her face, a poor attempt to hide. They were walking too close, not like in-laws but like lovers. The way their bodies leaned toward each other spoke louder than any words. The next photo showed them standing in front of a shiny 4-star hotel with glass doors and a golden sign. I zoomed in, desperate to find anything to prove I was wrong. But there was nothing. They looked too natural, too comfortable, like two people who belonged together. And I didn't belong in that world anymore. Then another message came from Mr. Thompson this time, a short video. I pressed play. My heart pounded so fast it felt like it might burst. The video was filmed from a distance but clear enough. There they were, Ethan and Olivia, standing on a balcony on the 3rd floor of the hotel. His arm was wrapped around her waist. Her head rested on his shoulder, her long hair swaying gently in the wind. And then, just like a knife to the chest, I saw it. They kissed. It was quick, but it was real. They didn't even try to hide it. That small kiss was enough to destroy whatever little hope I had left. I replayed the video again and again, frame by frame, watching every painful second sink deeper into my soul. It felt like falling into a dark, endless hole I couldn't escape. Then I saw Olivia rush out from behind the curtain, smiling brightly, running into Ethan's arms like a teenage girl in love. I sank into a chair, holding onto the table just to keep myself from breaking down completely. Another message popped up from Mr. Thompson. They also rented the room for the afternoon. Looks like they're staying the night. I'll keep watching. I read it over and over, my throat tightening as if someone was choking me. Just a few hours earlier, Ethan had texted me, "Lily, I won't be home tonight. I have to meet a potential partner from out of town. Get some rest." His tone was sweet and gentle, the same as it had been all these years. But now, I knew every word was a lie. A partner from out of town? He wasn't out of town. He was here in a hotel with our daughter-in-law. I took out my portable hard drive and started saving everything, every photo, every video. Each time I clicked save, I looked at the images again, hoping somehow they would change. But they didn't. In the video, Ethan's face was so soft, the way he looked at Olivia so tenderly, just like how he used to look at me 30 years ago. Back then, we were young and full of love. We believed our love would last forever, a promise we made under a starry San Diego sky. But looking at him now, all I saw were lies, deep, ugly lies, and betrayal. My mind drifted back to family gatherings, the dinner table filled with laughter and warmth, what I thought was our perfect family. Olivia would always sit far from Ethan. Sometimes she even looked at him with disgust. David used to joke, "Mom, I think Olivia can't stand Dad. She avoids him like the plague." And I believed it. I thought maybe they just didn't get along. I thought she was just trying to fit into the family. But now I realized it was all a show. A well-planned act. A careful lie played out in front of me, in front of David, in front of everyone. They were both so good at pretending. I felt like a fool, a blind wife betrayed by the two people I trusted the most. Outside, life went on. People passed by, smiling, living, completely unaware of the storm happening inside me or what was happening on that hotel balcony. But Mr. Thompson had captured the truth, the perfect shot of my broken reality. I texted him, "Thank you. Please keep watching. I need to know everything." He replied, "I will. Stay calm." That night, I went back to the house Ethan and I had shared for years. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt cold and strange, a place filled with ghosts and lies. I walked into our bedroom, opened the drawer, and pulled out a thick envelope. My hands moved firmly, though my heart felt heavy. I printed out all the photos, Ethan and Olivia leaving the lawyer's office, entering the hotel, standing on that balcony, even screenshots of the video. I arranged them carefully, sealed the envelope, and hid it deep under old family photos. Then I picked up one picture, the four of us, smiling at David's birthday a few years ago. Olivia was hugging David tightly. Ethan's arm was around my shoulder, and I looked happy, too happy. Now all I wanted was to tear that photo apart, to rip away the image of their smiling faces, and erase the lie I had been living for so long. Olivia was smiling, hugging David tightly, and Ethan stood next to me with his arm around my shoulder, looking proud. Now, when I looked at that picture, all I wanted to do was tear it to pieces, rip the image of their smiling faces out of my life. The next morning, just before dawn, I heard the front door open slowly. Ethan stumbled in, reeking of alcohol. "The partner was too difficult, Lily. he slurred in a rough voice, his eyes red like he'd been up all night. I had to drink a lot. I'm dead tired. I stood in the kitchen with a glass of water in my hand, watching him act like nothing was wrong, and feeling like he was rubbing salt into a wound. Rest, I said, calm as always, the practiced voice of a wife. You have to go to work tomorrow. He nodded, patted my shoulder like it meant nothing, and dragged himself to the bedroom. A few minutes later, he was snoring peacefully, as if he'd never cheated on me or gone to a hotel with our daughter-in-law. When I was sure he was asleep, my phone buzzed. It was Mr. Thompson, the detective. His voice was low, almost a whisper, like he was afraid someone might hear. Mrs. Roberts, I recorded their conversation in the hotel parking lot. I used special equipment. They didn't notice. I'm sending it now. My heart hammered, but I kept it together and replied, "Thank you, Thompson. Send me the file." Minutes later, an audio file popped up in my messages. I put on my headphones, sat at the table, and pressed play. The first voice I heard was Olivia's, cold and hungry, like someone I didn't know. "Dad, hurry up with that fake contract. I want to own that whole chain of stores already. I want that old hag out of the house." The words hit me like a blow. I gripped the phone so hard my hand ached. Then Ethan's voice came deep and confident. "Don't worry about those papers. Lily doesn't know anything. Leave it to me. She trusts me too much." It felt like a knife twisting in my heart. They weren't just sleeping together, they were planning to take everything I'd built. The bakery chain, the sweat and tears, the sleepless nights, every early morning and delivery. My reputation. It was all mine. Ethan never once worked the counter, never signed contracts with hotels. Now he and Olivia wanted to steal it all, and push me out of the home I made. I nearly broke down, but I managed to copy the audio to the flash drive with the other evidence. I carefully wrote down the time and place, trying to stay steady in the middle of the storm. The next morning, while I was making coffee in the bakery, my phone buzzed again. Thompson had sent a new batch of photos taken with a telephoto lens. In them, Ethan and Olivia sat in his car with a thick stack of papers between them. Olivia held a red pen and was marking the documents intently. Ethan sat beside her, nodding and smiling like he agreed with everything. Thompson wrote, "I overheard something. It looks like they want to use a contact at the notary's office to make the transfer. I'll investigate further." I zoomed in on the photo. I could see letters on the paper, but not the whole text. Still, I knew enough. These weren't normal work papers. They were planning to steal everything I had worked for, step by step. I sat among the trays of pastries that smelled so good, but inside I felt like my whole world was collapsing. I opened the audio again, put on my headphones, and listened to every single word. Olivia called me a wretched old woman, I thought, remembering the early days when she first joined the family, when I taught her to cook rice and hugged her like a daughter. I believed she was family, someone who would help David build a life with me. And Ethan, the man I'd loved since I was a girl in San Diego, who swore he'd be with me till the end. They had made a joke of me. A fool who still believed in love and family. A regular customer, Mrs. John, came in to buy pastries for her grandchildren. "Lily, your bakery has been packed lately. Your chain is expanding. I'm so proud of you," she said warmly. I forced a smile and answered, "Thank you, I'm doing my best." Inside, though, I was falling apart. I wondered what she would think if she knew the truth. Would she see me as strong, or just a fool betrayed by husband and daughter-in-law? I wrapped Mrs. John's pastries, said goodbye, and sank into a chair with my hands on my head. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. Instead, a silent rage burned inside me like an oven waiting to flare up. That night at dinner, I sat across from Ethan in our small kitchen under the yellow light that made his face look odd and flat. He ate and spoke in a monotone, acting like nothing was wrong. "Lily, I have to sign some important business papers this week. Maybe you should look them over. They're complicated." I picked up a piece of bread and pretended to take a bite, but in my head I could only hear Olivia's voice from the recording. "Dad, hurry up and sign the fake contracts." I knew he was testing the waters, trying to rope me into their dirty plan. I gave him a dry smile, the tired act of a wife too worn to fight, and said, "Yes, I'll look at them later. I'm tired now." He nodded and sipped his wine, looking at me like nothing was wrong. But I knew behind that smile sat a man ready to take everything I had built. Ethan drank a few more glasses. His face flushed and his words slurred as he talked about a difficult client. I nodded as if I listened, but inside I wanted to scream. Do you think I'm that stupid? When he staggered to the bedroom, I cleared the table slow and steady, controlling the anger that boiled inside me. He collapsed on the bed and started snoring loudly. His car keys lay on the nightstand, glinting in the dim light a siren's call to my revenge. I stared at them, my heart pounding. This was my chance. My moment. I crept into the bedroom, careful not to make a sound. Every step felt like walking between pain and resolve, between the past and a new, unknown future. I grabbed the keys, squeezed them tight, and headed straight to the garage. The night outside was quiet, hushed, like the whole world was holding its breath. All I could hear outside were crickets, their chirping like a soundtrack to my silent anger. I turned on my phone's flashlight, and its weak beam lit up Ethan's old SUV, the same car he used for his secret trips. It stood there quietly, like an accomplice to his betrayal. I opened the door. The faint smell of gasoline mixed with a sweet perfume hit my nose. My heart clenched. I reached for the glove compartment between the seats, and there it was, a tube of lubricant, its cap loose, and dried residue around the edges. It sat there like solid proof of their infidelity. I picked it up, holding it carefully, feeling like I was touching something filthy, something that carried all their dirty secrets. They had clearly used it again. It was the confirmation I didn't want but already knew. Ethan and Olivia were still playing their sick little game. I carried the tube to the kitchen, dropped it on the counter, and scrubbed my hands hard with lemon soap. I washed and washed, as if I could scrub away the betrayal that clung to my skin. The fresh scent didn't calm me, but it helped me focus. Then I opened the tool drawer and pulled out a tube of clear industrial super glue, the same kind I once used to fix a broken chair at the bakery. Back then it was just a tool. Now it was part of my revenge. I unscrewed the lubricant's cap and slowly filled it with glue, drop by drop, until it was completely full. I wiped the nozzle clean, gave it a gentle shake, and tested a bit on the counter. It came out smooth just like the original. No one would ever notice the difference. A faint smile crossed my face, though inside I was a storm. This wasn't a joke anymore, this was the first step toward justice. I put the tube back in the glove compartment, adjusted the seat and floor mat exactly how I found them, and shut the car door like nothing had happened. Then I opened the trunk, only crumpled bags, an empty water bottle, and an unused condom in the corner. My heart skipped, but I wasn't shocked anymore. I snapped photos with my phone, adding them to the growing pile of evidence. Each one reminded me why I couldn't let them get away with this. Back in the house, I carefully placed the car keys beside Ethan's alarm clock. Then I grabbed an old book and sat on the living room sofa, pretending to read. The soft lamplight fell across the pages, but my eyes couldn't focus on a single word. My head was spinning. I thought about David, my son, living happily with Olivia, blind to the truth. How could I ever tell him his wife and his father were betraying us both? Then my mind went to the bakery, 40 years of hard work, early mornings, sweat and sleepless nights. Every fight I had with Ethan to defend my dream. He never really understood, but I thought he supported me. Now I knew he'd just been waiting for the right moment to take it all. An hour later, I heard Ethan get up. He stumbled into the kitchen for water and spotted the keys on the counter, completely unaware. "Still not sleeping, Lily?" he asked groggily. I forced a smile. "No, just reading a bit." "Finish your water and go back to bed." He nodded, drank, and shuffled back to the bedroom. Within minutes, he was snoring again peacefully as if nothing had ever happened. I watched him through the doorway, studying his face. This man who once swore to love me forever was now plotting to destroy everything I'd built. But he didn't know I had already begun my counterattack. At dawn, I got up. The first light of morning crept through the bakery windows. I stood in my usual kitchen, kneading dough, shaping pastries for a big hotel order. Every press of my hand into the dough carried my anger, heavy, firm, controlled. When I went home for breakfast, I forced myself to look calm. Ethan was already up, sipping his black coffee. I served him eggs and toast. "Ethan," I said smoothly, "I have to travel to Nashville tomorrow to sign a contract with a new partner. I'll probably get home late. Can you handle dinner? He looked up, surprised, but there was something in his eyes, something that wasn't worry. It was relief. A big contract? He asked, holding my hand with fake tenderness. Don't worry. Go ahead. I'll take care of things. That little spark in his eyes, that faint smile, it told me everything. He wanted me gone. And I knew exactly why. I smiled back, pretending not to notice. Thanks. I'll call you if I'm running late. He took another sip of coffee, stood up, and said he had to rush to the office. As he left, I noticed his phone on the table. The screen lit up a missed call. The name on it made my stomach twist. A.T. Olivia Thompson. Before I could touch it, Ethan came back suddenly, snatched it from the table, and turned off the screen right in front of me. Forgot it, he said, forcing a smile. Then he was gone. I just stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling like I'd been slapped. He wasn't even pretending anymore. That day, I worked like a robot delivering bread, signing invoices, smiling for customers. But my mind was only on Ethan and Olivia. I couldn't let them keep playing their dirty game behind my back or David's. I needed more proof. I needed to hear them with my own ears when they thought no one was listening. That night, I pretended to be tired. I told Ethan, I have to wake up early tomorrow to catch the bus, so I'm going to bed. He nodded and patted my shoulder. Rest, Lily. Be careful on your trip tomorrow. I lay down, closed my eyes, but stayed wide awake listening carefully. Around midnight, Ethan's snoring stopped. I heard him get out of bed quietly. The dim light from his phone lit the room as he slipped out, thinking I was asleep. I waited a moment, then slowly got up and followed him on tiptoe. I hid behind the thick living room curtain and watched him standing near the window in the dark, phone to his ear. Yes, of course, he whispered. Come to the house tomorrow. We don't need the hotel anymore. Lily has to travel to sign a contract, she'll be back late. Then I heard a soft giggle from the other end, Olivia's voice. That's great, Dad. Finally, we can relax. Ethan laughed. Yeah, come early. I'll be waiting. My whole body trembled behind the curtain. They weren't just cheating anymore, they were planning to turn my home, David's home, into their secret nest. I went back to the bedroom in silence, opened a drawer, and pulled out David's old voice recorder, the one I bought him years ago for his college lectures. I checked the battery, replaced it with a new one, and turned on the continuous recording mode. I hid the recorder behind the bookshelf in our bedroom, right next to the headboard. I was sure it would catch everything. I carefully fixed the wire and covered it with a photo frame, our family photo from David and Olivia's wedding. Looking at that picture left a bitter taste in my mouth. Olivia's bright smile, Ethan's loving hug. All of it felt fake now. Before going back to bed, I double-checked that the recorder was on and working. I adjusted the photo frame perfectly to hide the wire, then lay down, pretending to sleep. Ethan came in a few minutes later, threw himself on the bed, and started snoring like nothing had happened. But I was wide awake, staring into the dark. I quietly reached for the clock and set the alarm earlier than usual. My eyes were open, not from restlessness, but from readiness. The next step of my plan had begun. I woke up at 5, when it was still dark outside. The only light came from the street lamps slipping through the curtains. The house was quiet, except for Ethan's steady snoring. In the kitchen, I held a cup of cold coffee and stared at the skillet of oil already waiting on the stove. This was the final step, a simple smoke trap, just enough to expose the truth. I tied a thin string to the stove's igniter and ran it over to the window. I fastened the other end to an old, heavy coffee can from the cabinet. All I had to do was pull from a distance, and the flame would light the oil, filling the house with thick black smoke. It would be enough to draw everyone's attention. I cracked the kitchen window open a little so the smoke could escape, then tested it once. The smoke rose fast, twisting like dark warning signs. I turned it off immediately, checked everything again, and made sure nothing looked suspicious. Then I put on my jacket, grabbed my big purse, and pretended I was leaving for my trip. Before heading out, I went into the bedroom and gently woke Ethan. I have to go to the bus station now, I said softly. I'm going to sign that contract. I'll probably be back late tonight. He half opened his eyes, mumbling sleepily, All right. Be careful, Lily. Call me if you need anything." Then he turned back over and buried his face in the pillow. I looked at him one last time, the man I once loved and trusted lying there peacefully, not knowing what was coming. My heart felt heavy, but my steps were steady. Instead of heading to the station, I crossed the street to Mrs. John's house. She was my neighbor and close friend. When she saw me standing there with my purse, she looked worried. "Lily, what are you doing out so early? Is something wrong?" she asked kindly. I forced a small smile. "Mrs. John, can I stay here for a few hours? I just need to keep an eye on my house." She frowned, confused, but didn't ask further. She handed me a cup of hot coffee and pulled up a chair by the window. From there, I could see my front door, the same door Ethan and Olivia would walk through, where the truth would finally come out. Around 10 a.m., a taxi stopped in front of my house. Olivia stepped out wearing a light floral dress and dark sunglasses, like she was trying to hide. Ethan rushed out, glanced around nervously, then quickly pulled her inside. I gripped my coffee cup tightly, my heart beating fast. "It's time," I whispered, opening the app on my phone that was connected to the hidden recorder in the bedroom. I put on my headphones. Instantly, I could hear Olivia laughing, glasses clinking, and footsteps moving across the floor. Then Ethan's voice, deep and confident, said, "We don't have to hide in hotels anymore." Olivia giggled. "You really know how to pick your moments. The old hag's gone, right?" I bit my lip hard, fighting the urge to scream. Hearing her call me the old hag, like that, made my blood boil. Then the bed started to creak, followed by sounds I didn't want to hear. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and told myself, "Just a little longer, Lily. Just a little longer." A few minutes later, Olivia suddenly screamed, "What the hell is this? We're stuck." Her voice shook with panic. Ethan snapped, "Shut up. Wait, let me see." That was my cue. I smiled coldly, then tapped my phone to trigger the smoke trap remotely. The string pulled tight, the stove clicked, and the oil caught fire. Thick black smoke started pouring out of the kitchen window, curling into the air like a signal flare. Mrs. John gasped, jumping up. "Lily, your house is on fire." I pretended to be shocked, clutching my chest. Outside, neighbors rushed out shouting, "Lily's house is on fire. Call the fire department." Mr. Miller from next door quickly pulled out his phone and called for help. I stayed seated, gripping my coffee cup, eyes fixed on the house. Everything was happening just the way I planned. Through my headphones, I could still hear Olivia screaming, "Ethan, do something. I can't move." Ethan's voice roared back, "Don't scream. I'm trying." But I knew they couldn't do anything. The industrial glue I had swapped in was already doing its job, leaving them stuck together at their most embarrassing moment. I could picture them struggling, panicking. And honestly, a part of me felt satisfied. Not because I was heartless, but because they forced me to this point. They wanted to take everything from me, my bakery, my family, my dignity. Now it was their turn to feel the pain. I looked out the window. The smoke kept rising, getting darker and thicker. Neighbors began to gather, shouting in confusion. "What's going on?" someone yelled. "Where's Lily?" "She went out of town for work. That's what I heard," another replied. Mrs. John stood quietly beside me, her eyes filled with suspicion but saying nothing. She only squeezed my hand softly. I could tell she had guessed something, but she didn't ask. There was no need, the truth was about to reveal itself. 10 minutes later, I heard the blaring siren of a fire truck racing down the street, loud, sharp, like a warning from fate itself. The red truck stopped right in front of my house. And then my heart froze. David jumped out of the driver's seat, wearing his firefighter uniform. My son, my pride, now about to face the worst truth of his life. "Get the equipment ready, quick. There might be people inside," he shouted, his voice strong and commanding. I looked at him and felt a sharp ache in my chest. My brave boy, the one who always believed his parents were good, decent people. Now he was seconds away from finding out the cruel reality. I wanted to run to him, to hold him, to whisper, "I'm sorry, David." I didn't have another choice. But I couldn't. I just stood there, letting fate take its course. Smoke poured heavily from the kitchen, convincing David and his team that it was a serious fire. David grabbed a sledgehammer, swung it hard, and smashed down the front door. The cracking sound echoed across the street. His team rushed in behind him with hoses and fire extinguishers. From my headphones, I could hear chaos, shouts, footsteps, confusion. Then came Ethan's desperate voice, mixed with Olivia's terrified cries. "Do something, Ethan." "I can't move," she screamed. "Shut up." "Don't scream," he barked back. I pressed my lips together tightly, clutching the phone where the live audio from the recorder still played. They were trapped just like I planned. David finally made it to the bedroom, and I could only imagine what he saw. His own father and his wife naked, stuck to each other on the bed, faces pale, terrified, humiliated. I wasn't there in person, but I didn't need to be. Through the audio, I heard David's shaky voice break the silence. What is this?" A firefighter behind him gasped. "Oh my God." Another one tried not to laugh, but David snapped. "Silence." That shout wasn't just for discipline, it was him trying to hold himself together. The shame, the disbelief, it wasn't just his burden now. Everyone had seen it. The secret was out. A few minutes later, another firefighter ran up to him and said, "Chief, the smoke's under control. It was just a small oil fire, nothing big." But David didn't respond. He was still standing there, frozen by what he had just witnessed. Outside, the crowd kept growing. Neighbors gathered around the doorway, whispering and pointing. "What happened?" one woman asked. "It's Ethan and his daughter-in-law." Another woman shouted, horrified. "Oh my God, how could this happen?" Beside me, Mrs. John quietly took out her phone and started recording. She zoomed in toward the window, capturing Ethan and Olivia still stuck, faces twisted with pain and shame. Then she turned to me with eyes full of anger and pity. "Lily, you knew about this, didn't you?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. I just nodded slightly, keeping my eyes on the window. Moments later, David stepped out of the house. I could hear the heavy thud of his boots against the floor. Through the headset, Ethan's rough voice called out, "Get everyone out of here. Close the door, David." But it was too late. The whole neighborhood had already seen. Faces filled with disgust, voices murmuring like a chorus of judgment and shame. People were shouting, "Father-in-law and daughter-in-law caught in the act?" "Unbelievable," a man exclaimed. "Poor Lily, how did it get to this?" Another sighed. The firefighters hesitated for a moment, but had no choice. They carefully wrapped Ethan and Olivia in sheets, trying to cover their bodies that were still stuck together, and carried them out on stretchers. I could hear Olivia crying softly, her voice shaking with pain. "Please do something. I can't take it anymore," she screamed. Ethan, weak and embarrassed, mumbled, "Don't let anyone see us." But it was too late. Everyone had already seen them. The neighbors looked disgusted, some shook their heads in disappointment, and others laughed under their breath. As they were carried away, whispers filled the air. "What a shame. Father-in-law and daughter-in-law. My God, that's filthy." The crowd stayed around the entrance even as the ambulance pulled away, its siren screaming down the street. Among the noise, I heard Mr. Miller shout with a laugh, "What a show. I can't believe people can be this shameless." An old woman shook her head and whispered to the person beside her, "Poor Lily." I stood among the crowd, pretending to be shocked too, as if I had just rushed there from the bus station. David stood still in the yard, pale as a ghost, his arms hanging loosely by his sides. His firefighter teammates avoided looking at him, quietly packing up their tools. I knew he wasn't just shocked because of what he saw. He was broken, betrayed by the two people he loved most, his father and his wife. I wanted so badly to hug him, to tell him I was sorry for letting him see something so painful. But I held myself back and followed Mrs. John quietly to the hospital. We sat in the hallway on the third floor, waiting. I kept the look of a worried wife, someone who had just been told her house had caught fire. Hours later, the doctor finally came out, his face sweaty and tired. "Mrs. Roberts," he said softly. "We managed to separate them. Luckily, there's no serious injury. They just need some skin ointment." I nodded slowly, pretending to be relieved. But my hand brushed against my purse where I had hidden 2 tubes of thick mustard I had prepared earlier. "Thank you, doctor," I said in a shaky voice, pretending to hold back tears. "Can I see them?" He nodded and led me to the nurse's station. The nurse handed me 2 tubes of ointment. She was a young woman, kind and gentle. "Ma'am, she said softly. This must be really hard for you. I'm so sorry. I gave her a weak smile, and as soon as she turned away, I quietly swapped the ointment tubes for the mustard from my purse. My hands moved fast, confident, as if I had practiced this 100 times before. Then, holding the mustard tube, I entered their hospital room, putting on a face of fake concern. Ethan? Olivia? Are you okay? I asked. Olivia sat up in bed, her hair messy, eyes red and swollen. She couldn't even look at me. Ethan, pale and shaken, stammered, Lily, I can explain. But I didn't let him finish. I set the tube on the table beside the bed and quietly walked out. A few minutes later, a loud scream echoed down the hallway. Olivia cried out, It burns! My skin is on fire! Ethan groaned in pain, shouting, What the hell is this? Who did this? The whole floor went into chaos. Patients and visitors rushed out of their rooms to see what was happening. An old woman whispered to her son, It's them. The couple from that video this morning, the father-in-law and daughter-in-law. Another woman muttered, They deserve it. The doctor ran in, yelling for the nurses to wash them and use a neutralizing agent. But it was too late. Their humiliation was already everywhere. Mrs. John's video of them being carried out half-covered had gone viral, spreading through the whole neighborhood and all over social media. I stood in the hallway, hearing the whispers, feeling as though the entire world was watching those two traitors face their downfall. When things finally calmed down, David walked into the room holding a thick folder. I had called him earlier, right after the ambulance left, asking him to bring me the envelope I had hidden the evidence and the divorce papers I had already prepared. He handed me the folder silently, his face empty, emotionless. I opened it, took out the documents, and placed them on the table in front of Ethan and Olivia. Looking straight into Ethan's eyes, I said in a cold, steady voice, 40 years of marriage end here. Sign these papers and after that, you can do whatever you want. Just stay away from me and my son. Olivia broke down, crying, looking at David. Honey, please forgive me. I made a mistake. Please, I'm begging you. But David just stared at her, his eyes hard and empty, and walked out without saying a word. Ethan tried to reach for my hand, his voice trembling. Lily, please listen to me. I didn't want this. I pulled my hand away sharply. Don't say another word, Ethan. You made your choice. He shouted desperately, Lily, please. But before he could continue, a nurse came in and said firmly, Sir, please be quiet. This is a hospital. I turned around and walked out, not looking back. In the hallway, I saw David leaning against the wall, his head buried in his hands. I walked up to David and gently placed my hand on his shoulder, but he didn't look up. Mom, he whispered, his voice breaking. Why did it have to be Dad? Why her? I couldn't bring myself to answer. I just pulled him into a hug, holding him tightly, feeling his pain mix with mine. At that moment, I knew Ethan and Olivia had lost everything, their pride, their marriage, and their dirty little plan. But David and I had also lost something to our family. All I hoped was that time would heal us, somehow. A few weeks after the scandal, my bakery became busier than ever. The little bell on the door kept ringing nonstop. Customers came and went, all smiling and praising me. Lily, you are such a strong woman, Mrs. John said one morning, holding a bag of my freshly baked flan. The whole neighborhood is proud of how you stood up for yourself and your bakery after all that mess. I smiled and thanked her. Everyone saw me as strong, but only I knew that my strength came from the broken pieces of my heart. Every time I looked at the oven where I had spent 40 years of my life sweating, crying, and working hard, I remembered Ethan and Olivia, how they tried to destroy everything I built, and how they failed. I was still standing, still baking, still here with David, and a new life. David moved in with me right after that day. He didn't talk much about what happened, but I could tell he had changed. He wasn't the cheerful, always laughing David I used to know. His eyes had a deep sadness in them, like a wound that refused to heal. Mom, I want to stay here for a while, he said the first night he arrived with his suitcase. I'll help you with the bakery. Talk to customers, handle deliveries, whatever you need. I hugged him, feeling the warmth of the same little boy I raised, and just nodded. I didn't ask questions. I knew he needed time, and so did I. Every morning, we opened the bakery together. I would prepare the oven and arrange the trays, while David checked invoices and called hotels and restaurants. "Mom," he said one morning from behind the counter, "the Grand Hotel wants to increase their pastry order for next week." "All right," I replied. "Confirm the order. I'll start preparing more dough." Those simple routines gave me a peace I hadn't felt in years. No more fake smiles from Ethan. No more sweet, manipulative words from Olivia. Just David and me taking care of what we still had left. Dinner was always quiet now, just the two of us sitting in our small kitchen. Sometimes we ate rice with beans and chicken. Sometimes just bread and coffee. "Mom," David said one evening with a faint smile, the first one I'd seen since the scandal, "can you make me some flan this weekend?" I smiled back. "Sure, but only if you help me stir the caramel." He laughed softly and nodded. And in that little moment, I felt we were finally healing slowly, but surely. I also started making time for myself, something I hadn't done in 40 years. I joined a cooking club at the community center. Women my age shared recipes, stories, and laughter. "Lily, you make the best flan in town," one of them said when I brought a tray. I smiled proudly. "It's a little trick I learned back in San Diego," I replied. I also began going to church on weekends. I'd sit quietly, letting the colored light from the stained glass windows touch my face, and I'd pray not for Ethan or Olivia, but for David and for myself. I prayed for strength, for peace, and for a reason to keep moving forward. Sometimes I'd take walks with Mrs. John around the town square. She always had something to say about the neighborhood gossip. "You know, Lily," she said one afternoon, her eyes bright, "everyone is still talking about Ethan and Olivia, but they say you're the one who won." I just smiled quietly and said nothing. "Won? Maybe. But the price was losing my whole family." Still, David began to open up again. He wasn't as quiet anymore and often told me stories from his job as a firefighter. "Mom," he said one night during dinner, "we put out a fire at the market yesterday. It was really bad, but thank God no one got hurt." I listened to him, proud and emotional. "Please be careful," I said softly. "You're all I have left." David looked at me with gentle eyes. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll never leave you alone." Those words felt like healing medicine. They reminded me that even though I'd lost so much, I still had my son, and that was enough. One sunny afternoon, the bakery was full of customers. I sat by the cash register, watching people go in and out, the little bell ringing nonstop. The smell of freshly baked bread filled the air. I looked at the trays of flan and pastries and thought about my journey, how I built this bakery from scratch. From a young girl in San Diego to the woman I am today. Ethan and Olivia had tried to take everything away from me, but they failed. I still had my bakery. I still had David. And most importantly, I still had myself. Did you enjoy my story? Tell me which city you're listening from, I'd love to know. And if you liked it, don't forget to click like to support my work, so I can keep bringing you more stories like this. Thank you so much for your love and support. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next life story.